wish Scott would stop dancing in the background. Hello and welcome to Rabble Extra here on the Rangers Rabble. My name is Martin Douglas and I'm joined by the fine figure of William Irwin. William, how are you?
All good, guys.
I'm joined by the beautiful Scott Kennedy. Just a salute. All right, okay. The ever-present Derrick, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Not bad. And the elder statesman of the group, Wilf Marshall. Wilf, how are you? Right, gents, obviously we're here tonight to discuss the season so far. But before we get into that, I thought we would discuss the kind of breaking news from today, Scott. And that is that Scotland is back in lockdown. What's going to happen with the league then? Will the league keep going? Will it go ahead? Will it be a null and void as so many are calling for?
Has to keep going. They've got all the protocols in place. I think if teams follow their structure, the protocols that that have been set in place, that they've been on the whole adhering to, I don't see any reason why anything should be disrupted from the status quo. I think clubs should be seen to be doing the right thing diligently, and yeah. Barring any disaster, should continue as per.
I suppose the big question as well for Scotland going back into lockdown, with schools being closed, with shops being shut, should the football carry on?
Yeah, I think it definitely should. For no other reason than it's something for people to look forward to. A majority of, I would say, a sizable majority of the Scottish population are interested in football to one degree or another, and it's something to something for them to look forward to. If they're maybe stuck in the house all day, every day, and if there's no football, then there's no form of entertainment that they can watch really, because there's just going to be nothing.
Yeah, Martin, I do agree. We should be keeping going. We're getting tested, or they're getting tested all the time before every game. I think it is a couple of days before. All the protocols should be in place. Clubs have worked hard to make sure there's games getting played. So yeah, we should definitely continue. Hopefully other clubs will remain and do the same, and we can get the season going and finished.
If the season does carry on, William, and it's looking likely, obviously, that it will and that it should, do you think there'll be tougher restrictions brought into clubs? Say maybe if a team's went abroad for a wee holiday, that they should be punished? Or, but do you think, in all seriousness, but going forward, should there be tougher restrictions now brought in for clubs? Because if games have to be cancelled, there's less and less opportunity to replay them.
See, but the problem is, obviously the SPFL and the SFA were following the guidance set up by the current government, which allowed teams to travel for training and for games. So what Celtic's actually done and isn't actually illegal? I mean, Celtic have basically followed what the guidelines were. So it shows you that the government itself made the mistake of allowing a training to happen, which has allowed Celtic to go to Dubai. I mean, Rangers could have done exactly the same thing, but at the end of the day, the club chose not to do it. The problem you've got now is on, 24 hours on for Celtic arriving in Dubai, it's now turned in that Scotland's now in a full lockdown, which makes everybody look really, really, really stupid, including the government, the SPFL and the SFA, and it's became a bit of a farce. And I think it's highly likely that in the next day or two, out with the Scottish Premier League, the Championship, League 1 and League 2 will be curtailed, because I think unless every single team's getting tested regularly and unless the funding's there, I sadly think the Scottish Championship, League 1 and League 2 will get shut down, and I think they'll find it really difficult to get back up again and getting the season done, even with a shortened season.
And look, Scott, it's not a team, obviously, that we talk about that much unless we're playing them. But if we're being brutally honest, straight down the line, Celtic were told they were allowed to do this. They were told they had permission to go abroad. But now, with the restrictions that's been brought into Scotland, with Celtic still being in Dubai, is that going to possibly affect the next 2-3 fixtures if they possibly have to self-isolate if they're made to do that?
Well, it potentially could do if something happens and one of them gets the virus and they get stuck out in Dubai, or they have to quarantine over there, or have to quarantine when they come back, depending on what happens. But it really shouldn't even be a discussion. It shouldn't have to come to that. It's a really utterly brain-dead decision for them to think that this was appropriate for them in the middle of a pandemic to go off to Dubai. And yeah, okay, if they felt they need to do that and they were allowed to do that, fine, fair enough. But then the first thing they did was go sit by a pool, have a party by a pool, have a few beers. What? How stupid do you have to be? I mean, it's one of the things, if you're going to do it, don't get caught, right? Don't get caught. Don't get pictured. To do it in private. Do it in a locked room somewhere. Do it where there aren't any prying eyes. Because you just open yourself up to scrutiny. And we shouldn't even be talking about this. Yeah, if they want to go to Dubai, let them do that. We all know that they're not normal. They are certainly a club like no other. And like no other, because they it's as if this isn't, they're in their own little bubble and none of this affects them and they can do what they want because they're an elite football club. Well, perhaps they should start acting like an elite football club.
See, but the problem you've got quickly though is that it's a PR disaster for Scottish football though, because you've got for the outside people are looking in and they're seeing today that the whole country's going into lockdown, and yet one of the two biggest teams in the country is currently in Dubai for a week, and the game that they were supposed to play against Hibs has been moved back to Monday night to accommodate that, and it makes it look very amateurish. But the problem being is it's not just Celtic's fault, it's the fault of the people that run the game in the country, and it's also the people that are governing the actual country itself at the moment with the SNP, because they have allowed this to happen, and now they're trying to come out to say that the SPFL or the SFA should do something about it. Well, no, that's not really the problem. The problem is that you guys allowed this to become a thing. So, I mean, there was nothing to stop Motherwell going away. There was nothing to stop Hamilton Accies going away. You know, this was the problem for the outset. And because it's been allowed to happen, for all I don't have much love for Celtic, clearly, I actually don't blame them for doing it. It's the fact that it's been allowed to happen, and now it's been made to look as though they're having to do something to get them back into the country, because potentially, if they're saying in 24 hours' time you need to isolate when you come back to Scotland, that then becomes a farce, because how can you then put games back when you're already 3 games behind?
Yeah, but I think ever since the start of the pandemic, you should be looking at, just because I can doesn't mean I should.
Mm-hmm.
So then every other club has looked at this and gone, right, we could go to Dubai, we could go elsewhere. Doesn't mean we should. Rangers could have done it. Doesn't mean that they should. So yes, there's nothing to say that they can't do it, but there's nothing actually going, right, green light, go ahead and do it.
Mm.
And that is what they've taken from it, and that's what they've decided to do. And up until a couple of days ago, where infection rates are still going up and there's still a big danger and there's still a big discussion about it, they still chose to get on that flight and they still chose to go. And then they still chose to go sit around a pool and have a few beers. And now we're talking about this, and now people are saying, okay, well, we've got a problem.
But if you leave it up to clubs, they're going to find grey area. If you give a club a grey area, they're going to go. It's up to the government stroke the SFA to be strong on this and make sure that teams could not do it, because Celtic need a break. They've been rotten. They need time away. They need to try and bond their team. So they're going to get it and they're going to try and go. That you can't blame Celtic for it. But as soon as you put down people to moral or social responsibility, they're found lacking. And that's in everybody. It should have been the government bodies that said, look, you can't do this. No grey areas, and we wouldn't be having this discussion. I don't want them to get penalised. I don't want any sort of repercussions for this, because I do not want them to have any excuse. So I hope they come back and everything's fine and they get on with their games, because we don't want to be shouting and bawling about this and then the SFA do something about it and then they've got another excuse. I just hope they come back and they get their games played and we can move on with our season, because this is just totally distracted from what's been happening the last couple of weeks.
They went over because they were allowed to, right? And that was, we all agreed it's wrong. They were allowed to and they went, right? But they got to where they were going, and all these photos have appeared of them sitting around a pool. Now, I saw a video online last night of them taking the long way to where they were sitting, away from the bar, because there was a team of Rangers fans sitting at the bar. Now, they must have known that these photos would come into the public domain. So how stupid are they not to just say, look, boys, we'll just go to our room?
Yeah. And
to all intents and purposes, the only photos they could have taken was them out for a walk. But they chose to sit in the sun drinking pints. I mean, that's ludicrous. From their point of view, that's bad management from whoever's in charge of that trip. You can't blame them for going, because they were allowed to go. They shouldn't have been allowed to go, but they were. And the thing that concerns me about it now is the statement from the Scottish Government tonight. It was No, it was the permission was in place for clubs to travel for training and for match purposes. Now this looks like it's a fucking jolly up. And they've said that they might into withdrawing that privilege. They're the only club that would affect is us, because we're the only club that's got to travel into Europe for competition games.
Yeah,
that really worries me.
Do you know what worries me more than your internet, Wilf? It really does. but let's
I had internet in 1960.
it's that Aberdeen internet, by the way. It's horrendous. Right, well, gents, let's move on, and we'll stop talking about them. And we'll start talking about what we're here to talk about, and that's us. And I thought, obviously, it's the first time we've had a midweek break since I can remember. Obviously, the next game's Aberdeen at the weekend. So, William, if we take a wee look at the season so far, if we go back to the very beginning of the season, what was your expectations? Was it to win the league? Was it just to run Celtic closer? What was your expectations for the season?
I think
Be honest.
I expected us to win 38 games out of 38 because that's your mindset at the start of every season. And I know that's a stupid thing to say, but that's how, like, when you support Rangers, when you grow up, you just expect Rangers to win every game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just how it is. Like, regardless of how shit we are or how good we are, I expect us to win 38 games. That's just the bare minimum. If I'm being realistic, I thought we had a good squad this year. I felt we showed a lot of good things last year, and I thought we would be stronger and we could push Celtic more. Did I expect us to have won 20 out of 22 games? Probably not. Did I expect us to have such a great defensive record as we do? Probably not. So I think all in all, I've been pleasantly surprised with a lot of what's going on, but my mindset is still the job's not done yet, and I know we've still got points to get in the board, and I want us to keep winning games, and I want us to keep playing a positive brand of football while keeping clean sheets.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me. I want all the time. I want more. I want more goals. I want more clean sheets. I want more wins. I don't want to change that. I don't want to change that mentality. I want us to be the best we can be. And this season, for all we've not been at the games, it's still been a joy to watch the games when, whether it's been a replay of the game later on that night because I've not been able to see it, or watching the games live on the computer. It's been really good to watch us play this season, whether that's been at home or in Europe.
Derrick, has your expectations matched your hopes?
Well, I think even me as the most optimistic Rangers fan, I could have hoped for this start, but I could not have, it's totally came out the blue for me. I expect us to challenge better than what we did last year. I expect us to learn from that dip we had post-January last year. I was excited at the signings we made in terms of adding quality to the squad. When I thought we might do something, it was Morelos stayed. I thought when he stayed, I thought, we've got a real chance here. We've got Kemar Roof, looks as if he's going to be a good signing. We've got Morelos still up top. We've got loads of options, and that was key for me. So, as William said, there's no way I thought we'd be undefeated apart from the Betfred Cup. We didn't dream we'd be 19 points clear in the league, so I would never in my wildest dreams I thought we'd been here. But I had a slight inkling that we'd be challenging, we'd be up there, because I thought we'd learn from the mistakes that we made in the past.
If we look at a wee bit into transfers at the start of the season, Wilf, I think the biggest story, like Derrick says there, was Alfredo Morelos staying, because I don't think there's many Rangers supporters you would have spoke to at the start that would have said he's going to be here for this season, especially once we signed Kemar Roof, I should say.
Well, I couldn't see him staying, particularly when we signed another two strikers, when we signed Roof and Itten. It was, to me, we were signing them to replace Morelos, and we were going to let Morelos go. But I mean, fair play to the board. They put a price on him, and nobody came in and matched the price that they wanted. And for years and years and years, we've undersold players, and they've obviously shown that they're not going to undersell players. And as Ellis stayed, that we probably would be giving it a real good go. But I mean, I'm slightly different. At the start of the season, I didn't expect us to win 38 league games and the League Cup and the Scottish Cup and the UEFA Cup. I wanted us to win the Eurovision Song Contest, and the PDC darts, and I wanted us to win everything, absolutely everything.
But Scott, right, I want to ask something, and a serious answer here, right? Because I've spoken about this in the past, and we went into the start of this season. Obviously, we were going for 55, but a lot of the talk was stopping 10. Now, as Rangers supporters, it's easy for us to turn around and go, "Oh, listen, absolute nonsense. It's 9 3/4. It's 8 in a row." But how serious do you think the supporters were taking the whole 10 in a row thing and the club?
Well, I can only really speak from my perspective and perhaps from a little bit of what I've seen, but perhaps it is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but I've never really been worried about them winning 10 in a row or 9 in a row, 8 in a row. And it's mainly because, and it's almost universally recognised in football that even though Rangers, back in the league for a couple of years, it's not a strong Rangers, it's not a strong league. It's one it's taking advantage of people then with their dominance and then trying to lord it over everyone. And I think the whole kind of world sees that, and it kind of filters down to you. And it's only when you actually delve into their deep insecurities of their media propaganda trying to shove the throat down the 10 in a row, the quadruple treble winners, and they have to do this to give themselves some sort of relevance. And it kind of makes it worse, and it kind of backfires. I've only really been interested in winning 55 ever since we got back into the top division. It was always about 55. I'm not interested in stopping them win the 10. If they win the 10, that's fine. They're unbearable to listen to purely because we're so desperate to win trophies and we covet the trophies. And that is what I want. That is, purely as a Rangers fan, that is what I've been brought up with. That is what I love. I love the celebration. I'm addicted to it. So not to have it for this period of absence, I think you kind of get lost in it and you create your own desperation around it and a little bit of hysteria. So I think it's all about 55. What happens after 55? I don't even know how I'm going to feel. It's going to be like this emotional release. That's what this season's about for me. I said before, I want to win the League Cup. I want to win the Scottish Cup. I want to win the league. I want to win Europe. If we're just walking away with 55, I'm over the moon. I'm ecstatic.
The reason I asked that question, Derrick, is because I'm not doing it to be tongue in cheek or say, 10 in a row is a null and void idea, if you pardon the pun. But I do think genuinely there's a lot of hysteria within the media of, Rangers are under this amount of pressure, that amount of pressure to try to stop the 10. And I genuinely don't think, supporters especially, will always have banter back and forth. But I don't even think the club was taking that serious.
So, no, I think you're right. I think for where we came from, now we nearly finished fourth before Gerrard came in. We were a couple of goals away at Easter Road for finishing fourth. It was always going to be a 3 or 4 year project. Now, Gerrard, for me, could we have won it last year? Maybe. We maybe didn't have the depth and squad to do it, but he's accelerated our progress more than anyone ever could have dreamed of. The guy, for me, has done a remarkable job. We were nowhere, absolutely nowhere. So for me, I'm looking at the team when Gerrard's coming in and going, if he wins the league in 4 years, that's a miracle. Now, as a Rangers fan, it's hard to say that and people to listen to you because we expect to win things, and rightly so. But for me, we're ahead of schedule. I think that's where the boards came from. They've said, right, first year, let's make us a decent outfit. Let's sort the crap out. Let's get a squad that we can be proud of. Second year, challenge. Third year, run them close. And fourth year, win it. I genuinely believe that the board would have been happy with that. With picking up a couple of trophies on the way and doing better in Europe, we've surpassed any objectives that Gerrard's been set so far. And I think that was it for me. From speaking to most Rangers fans, they are obsessed with the 55 and the 10. For me, it was all about just sorting our team out. We were all over the place, and I was the only person in a room saying that at some times. But I kept banging on that drum like we were a shambles. Now we're undefeated in Europe. We've played Benfica, Galatasaray, so on and so forth. That was the aim, just to get us back where we belong. Now, a shelf life for a manager is not forever, right? So he was always going to come under scrutiny. It looks as if hopefully we're going to do it this year. I still think he would have got another season anyway. So I think the club's been of that mantra, let's sort ourselves out. on and off the pitch, and then the success will come after that. And I think that the board have showed calm heads, and they've got to be given praise for that in the last couple of years, especially after the dip in January. It'd been very easy just to get rid of them.
I know, 100% right. And William, I could see you nodding along there like a wee happy dog. I take it you agree with everything Derrick was saying.
Yeah, look, I mean, like, I agree with a lot of what Derrick says, because I think we've got the same kind of mindset when it comes to these kind of things. I mean, let's be totally honest here. Under Kashinya, we were a joke. We were literally going nowhere. You know, I was on that flight to Luxembourg when we got knocked out of a Progress. I've never felt lower as a football fan than sitting at that airport waiting to come back to Luxembourg. No, we've been knocked out by a team really that were nowhere close to us, in my mind. But then on the plane on the way back, I was thinking, this is where we are now. We're a very average team getting knocked out of Europe by a team from Luxembourg. So when all of a sudden we were being linked by like the Liverpool under-18 coach, I know it was Steven Gerrard, but it was a Liverpool under-18 coach.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is one hell of a job for somebody to come in and take on. And as Derrick said, and he's absolutely spot on, the European campaigns have helped us massively on a financial scale. It's allowed the manager to probably be a year ahead of where he should be. Because 3 years in the Europa League's brought in, I don't know, maybe somebody will know better than me, probably 35, 40 million. I mean, that was money that was coming into the club in any other capacity. Like, so we weren't bringing that money in with transfers because we didn't have anybody to sell. You know, we didn't have any assets that we could sell. So at that point, the board are the ones that are having to hand over the cash to buy players. We had to buy a team. We basically had to strip the whole team and rebuild. And like we started putting piece after piece after piece together, and you could see the wee slight changes. I mean, I think I was there at Parkhead with Derrick and his dad when we were like 5-0 down with about 25 minutes to go. And we basically just turned away from the game and we were having a joke because we thought we would never see those days where we were literally a laughingstock. But look at us now. We've won like the last 3 Old Firm games. We've not conceded a goal in those 3 league games. We're a team that's lost 5 goals in the league after 22 games. We've beat some top teams in Europe. We're in the knockout stages of Europe for the second season in the trot. We've now got a squad that have genuine assets. I mean, you could go round all the guys on the pod tonight and we can name one player each that we could probably get £10 million for. We didn't have that 3 years ago.
Right, so we've lost Wilf. So Scott, the question that I asked Wilf, I'll ask you and I'll just edit it out of the podcast. Will the supporters, do you think, appreciate this season more if we go on to do what we were meant to do, rather than right now at this moment appreciate what we're doing, like William says, in Europe, beating Galatasaray, beating Standard Liège, drawing with Benfica, stuff that a Rangers team 2 years ago, 3 years ago would just simply not have done?
Now you've rephrased it a slightly different way. I think it's very stressful at the moment. Not necessarily watching Rangers because, you know, my opinion of watching Rangers, I'm very, very kind of almost relaxed about the situation because I know what Rangers are going to turn up. I know the patterns of play. I know defensively how we're going to set up. Actually, a really good point is, if I do say so myself, is remember in the interviews that Gerrard, after a bad performance, Gerrard turned around and said, "That is not a Rangers team that I recognise." Sometimes you're looking at it and going, "Well, what are you on about? What Rangers team?" I genuinely don't understand. At the times, I was like thinking, I know what he means. He means it was missing aggression. It was missing attacking guile. It isn't at all. Because every single game that we've played this season, we've had the same patterns of play, we've had the same formation, we've seen the team shift across the pitch in the same way, we've had the fullbacks move forward at the same time in tandem. They know exactly where they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to play. And if they're not in a position at the wrong time, and we've seen how easy it falls apart, that is the Rangers team, that is the Gerrard team. And it's only with hindsight that you see that from a couple of years ago to where we are now, that you can actually say that. So you're absolutely spot on. In next season, once fingers crossed, one game at a time, 55 is done, we'll look back and we'll go, this is probably one of the best Rangers teams of a generation. And for me, I'm always waxing lyrical about this side. It is possibly my favourite side. And if it goes on to do well in Europe and wins the league comfortably and maybe wins another cup this season, I think it'll just solidify that. And that probably takes into account the wholehearted emotional aspect of that as well.
Hey, well, we're going to be rejoined by Wilf, hopefully from all the way in sunny Aberdeen, if his internet's going to allow him to rejoin us. Well, if we're just talking there about this current Rangers team and whether the fans right now truly appreciate what we're actually doing, or whether, you know, just going for 55's just too much and we can't actually see what's happening. But if we do go on and lift 55, where does this Rangers team sit for you in regards to previous Rangers teams?
Well, it's certainly the best one we've had since, I would say, since 2012, and possibly going back a bit further than that. But winning 55 will be a great achievement, but winning 56 will be a better achievement, because they say the hardest thing to do is to retain a title. You know, I mean, I think a lot of the support are just looking at, let's just get the 55 win, but I think the management team seem to be looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
You know, they're making it clear that we're going to be selling people, we're bringing people in, so that we're not just winning 55 and then go, well, 56 will come sometime along the line. I think they're looking at hopefully making a sustained run of success, which a lot of the support probably can't see.
Do you know what? Only Rangers supporters, and I mean us five in here, and however many 7 or 8 people watch this, only Rangers supporters, right, would sit there after everything that we've went through, possibly going to win a league title, talking about winning the next one, and going, "Yep,
That's
only
the mentality, but Mark, that's the
only
mentality.
Rangers supporters."
I know, but that's the mentality, though. Like, see, when you grow up,
Rangers are about winning.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, like the mentality when you grow up. I mean, when I was a young boy, and like my dad used to lift me over the turnstiles to take me into the game, he was always talking about Rangers winning, because that was how you grew up. Like, you grew up watching Rangers being successful. So, like, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed in the last, like, sort of 30 plus years in my eyes. You know, like, if we won that first title, the second title should come, and then the third title, then the fourth title, etc., etc., etc. That's the mindset, and the manager's got to get that into the players as well. You know, so if we're lucky enough to win the league this season, we go again next season, and then the season after that, and the season after that. Nothing stops. The mindset remains the same. It's winning, winning, winning. And obviously getting back into the Champions League would be monumental, because the money that brings into the football club takes Rangers to another hemisphere. You know, because you're talking like 40, 50, 60 million pounds for one season in the Champions League, if you're good enough to get to that knockout phase, which is obviously extremely difficult. But that one season could push us 2 or 3 years down the line, and it could allow the manager to go out and bring in 1 or 2 exceptional talents. Like Walter Smith was able to do it. That was how we were able to go out and sign guys like Gascoigne or guys like Laudrup at the time, because like the Champions League football was a big selling point, and it allows you to bring in a slightly better standard of player. And that's no offence to the players we've got at the moment; they're of a very good standard. But a Champions League team can go that little bit further and can offer that little bit more, and that's what you could do, and that then pushes you even further. You know, and that's got to be the mindset.
You know,
It's actually because just jumping in, it's not necessarily about spending the money either. It's the prestige that comes with it. So then when we look at talent that, you know, comes from Scandinavia and they're joining like other teams in Europe, because we're playing in the Champions League, we can say, right, okay, well, they don't cost us any more than our existing players, but it just makes the proposition of playing for the club far more attractive. And then we can use those players to sell them on. It's self-sustaining model, and that's exactly where we want to be.
I was saying there, Wilf, that we've had very few blotches on the card this season. The only blotch is the Betfred Cup. Does that still sting for you?
Of course, it still stings. I mean, that was the first chance to win a trophy, and you know, there's the old saying that winning becomes a habit when you start waving shiny things about. And that was the first opportunity to do that, and it's going to hurt until such time as we win something. I mean, hopefully that's something is the Scottish Cup, because I think the Scottish Cup finals before the end of the league, but we could win the league hopefully before then. So it's going to hurt until such time as we actually do win something. And I mean, in my younger days, the League Cup was our trophy. We won it. We seem to win it every year. You know, and it does become a habit, and it is going to sting. as Derrick said before he had to nip away, we've bounced back spectacularly from it. We've won 5 games on the spin, including beating them. Lost, I think, a couple of goals, maybe only 1 goal in that time. Which that was the test. The test was when we got beat, could we come back, or would we just fall apart? And we came back. So yes, that Betfred quarter-final defeat really, really hurts. And it's going to really hurt at the end of the month when the semi-finals getting played and we're not in it.
No, it doesn't. I couldn't care less if Inverness, Caledonian Thistle or Celtic win the trophy. If Rangers' name's not on it, I'm not interested. It hurts just as much. That might be a bit unpopular opinion, but I couldn't care less who wins the trophies if it's not Rangers. It hurt me a lot because I thought if we win that trophy, that would be a huge psychological boost for us. But again, we've answered the question of that in the last 5 games. The final's not until February, I think it is anyway, so we wouldn't have got the boost that maybe I thought we would have anyway if it would have been earlier in the season, just like last season was a bit of a blow and we lost it. So no, it doesn't matter to me, Celtic or Caledonian Thistle. I'm still just as upset we're not in the semi-finals in a couple of weeks.
Hey, so Scott, just finally on the players then, this season so far, who's impressed you the most? And please don't say Hadji.
Ruined. Tav's been outstanding. Tav, when all our chips were down, February 2020, doom and gloom, he's almost been advised badly. He's coming out saying the wrong things, and he was slaughtered, absolutely slaughtered, left, right, and centre. I'm surprised he didn't probably get abused going to the shops or something. He's had a remarkable turnaround, not only in terms of his playing form, but his character. He speaks so well, and I cannot praise him enough. And every time I look at him, it seems his chest gets bigger and he puffs out and he's standing that little bit taller. I've said over the past few weeks that he's probably not performing at his best. It'd be really, really harsh to suggest any player should play 70-odd games, 60-odd games in a season and be at 100% for each of them. That's just not realistic. But he never shirks. He never shies away. He's always, the chips were down on Saturday for a fair while, but he's the one along with Hadji that stood up to be counted. Notable mentions to the likes of Kamara, David. They've all been outstanding. It'd be harsh to not include someone, even guys like Cedric Itten, who have come off the bench and played their part for the most part. And they still keep trying, they still keep working, they still want to be part of the team, they still want to get into the team. But they recognise the fact that as a unit and as a squad, we are just one big first team. So long may it continue. The attitude at the moment is spot on.
Right, so William and Derrick, I want to come to you with a different kind of question, not who you've really liked this season, but there's a specific player I want to pick out who's been out on loan, and I want to know for you two if you think he's got a future at Ibrox. And William, I'll start with you. Jake Hastie. He came obviously from Motherwell. He had a lot. Scott's thinking no. There was a lot of talk around about him. He looked like a top young Scottish player. Has he got a future at Ibrox?
Probably being honest about it, no. I think they took a risk at the time. He'd obviously only played a minimal amount of games for Motherwell, but he'd had an impact at that part of the season where he scored quite a few goals. He was involved in creating goals. Rangers obviously took a chance like they have done over the years with a lot of Scottish guys. And sadly for him, it's just not really worked out. He's been out on loan now a couple of times. It doesn't really look as though he's getting enough first-team football that's helping him develop as a player. So I think sadly, from my point of view, because I would like to see more young Scottish players playing in the team, I just feel as though Jake probably not. It's not going to happen for him at Rangers, and he'll probably have to move on at the end of the season.
I'll tell you the honest truth, Derrick, as to why I asked that question, because I was playing Football Manager, and he done really well for me for about 4 or 5 seasons, and he was a player that I completely forgot about, and he was somebody who, when he first came to Rangers, we were told, look, this is a top young Scottish talent that we need to look out for, and he's been absolutely nowhere near the first team.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing because he looked great when he was at Motherwell, and then when he signed, he was almost trying too hard for me in the first 5 or 6 weeks, as a youngster usually does. It's a worrying. He went to Rotherham, was it, and he done okay. then when he come back up the road, he's not going into that Motherwell team. I know he started the last game, but he's not going into a struggling Motherwell team, and that maybe says it all. I'd love for him to change my opinion, because there's nothing better than a Scottish guy doing well in the Rangers first team. I just can't see it. I just think there's too many ahead of him, and I think that he's maybe too raw at the moment for us to take further chance on him. So I think maybe, as William's already said, I think it's maybe best he moves on, which is a shame, because we have took a chance and it's not worked, and it's a shame for the boy and for Rangers, because he did look the part when he was kind of 18, 19. He looked as if he was going to be the next best thing. But again, I'm sure he'll have a good career. The only way for Rangers is down, unfortunately, but he will have a good career, and I suppose that's a good thing for the boy.
I didn't mean to end on a somber note, gentlemen, but listen, that would do. Because of Wolf's internet, my daughter and Derrick's children, I'm going to have some job editing this podcast. William, Derrick, Scott, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Cheers.
No problem, mate. Thanks, Martin.
We're available on YouTube at youtube.com/rangersrabble, facebook.com/GersRabble. As Derrick just hold on to, I'm finished doing this. Twitter at rangersrabble. So like, share, comment, spread the word. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll speak to you soon.